Married at First Sight Season 15 San Diego Reunion Part 2. Part 2 of the reunion was like the let's see if we can guilt Alexis and Weeping Willow into staying together show. There seemed to be a lot of focus on this couple because somebody somewhere thinks that they're a good couple. Let's hop into these highlights. They continued with the Mr. and Mrs. Jingle Bells chat with Kevin. I'm sorry, but their color scheme was giving me Christmas vibes. So Weeping Willow had Alexis up against the ropes and like on the defense. He accused her of coming on to him at his place. Like she buzzed his phone in the middle of the night and was asking like, "What you doing?" And Alexis denied it. See, I'm with you, Weeping Willow, because The Rock buzzed my place in the middle of the night too, and to this day, he denies it. Just ask him, and he'll pretend like he don't even know me. Then Weeping Willow accused Alexis of clout chasing and not really wanting to find love. And Alexis said she pulled out every tool in her toolbox to try to make it work with him. Like she wasn't initially attracted to him, but she got past that. She's not used to someone so sensitive, and she grew past that. She wasn't used to someone who didn't know how to control his dog, and she grew past that. Okay, just kidding. She didn't say that part. So Kevin said, "Am I wrong? Or Alexis, did you say you want physical attention from your husband?" And Alexis agreed. So Kevin asked Weeping Willow, "How can you say she didn't want you when she was asking you for physical attention?" And Weeping Willow said that he's used to the energy being reciprocated, and Alexis did not want him. Okay, Weeping Willow, you just said that Alexis came on to you at your place. So which one is it? Did she or did she not want you? So it seems as though the producers were having such a hard time understanding these two that they decided to invite Alexis's sister and Weeping Willow's brother on to hopefully share insider scoop on what happened between these two. So Weeping Willow's brother said that he didn't feel like Weeping Willow was really ready for marriage. He said that Weeping Willow is a lover and wants to be loved, but he wanted it too much, which put him at risk for getting hurt. Alexis's sister said that she had some reservations about the relationship too, because Alexis is spicy and wasn't sure how that would vibe with someone who's more sensitive. And she said that Weeping Willow is actually more hot-headed than he presented, and that he said hurtful things in the heat of the moment that he can't take back. So as usual, there always seems to be a little bit more to these couples than meet the eye. When people call Weeping Willow emotional, I thought they were just talking about his tears, but it sounds like they were also talking about his hot temper too. Looks like Alexis was dealing with a lot more stress than we saw. Kevin brought up the dog situation and was kind of commending Weeping Willow for choosing his marriage over the dog. So he said to Weeping Willow's brother, "Donnell, were you impressed to see your brother handle the situation this way?" "No. Maya is an important part of his life, and it would not have been great for their marriage because he would have eventually grown to resent Alexis for the decision that he made." I love his brother's directness, and he was dead on about that because Kevin asked Weeping Willow if he grew to resent Alexis, and he said yes, and he wasn't being honest about it. So, child, we could all see that you resented her for that. You brought it up every chance you got. "Would you like a boiled egg?" "That's the least you could do since I gave up my dog for you." So Kevin said to Alexis, "I know you're upset about the dog situation, but what do you wish Weeping Willow would have done after that?" So she said it wasn't so much about the bite because you can't control the dogs. She was mad that he didn't share the information that Maya had 3 other incidents with dogs. If she had known that, she wouldn't have taken Newton off his leash. Well, hopefully that's a lesson learned. Never immediately take your dog off the leash right away when he's in a strange house with an unknown dog, a 6'8" unfamiliar man, a camera crew, extension cords everywhere, and bright lighting equipment while getting married at first sight. So Weeping Willow did say his dog is back home again. He flew to Colorado and picked her up, and they had a road trip home back. So Kevin asked Weeping Willow's brother what went wrong in the marriage, and he thinks Alexis felt like she had to handle Weeping Willow with too much care, and Weeping Willow felt like Alexis was too much for him at times. So they were just too far apart with their differences. So Alexis' sister agreed, and then she added that they had surface similarities, but their main characteristics were different. When she said that, it reminded me of the interview Alexis did with the A-List that I covered in a previous video. When she was auditioning for the show and it came to answering questions on who she was looking for, I was focused a lot on height and physicality. I more so wanted someone kind, and I wasn't as specific as I should have been. So it sounds like they gave her who she asked for. She was the one who didn't take the time to completely fill out her answers. So Kevin asked if they're seeing other people. Weeping Willow said even though Nate came on to him and his next door neighbor's grandfather hit on him, he's not looking to date just yet. Just kidding. He said he's taking time to heal. So Kevin said, are you healing from it? Or if it could be fixed, would you fix it? Nah, I'm just. And whoa, hold up. Be honest. And Alexis was like, let that man say no, Kevin. I don't know if it's a true no. I feel like if you said, baby, let's work on this, you two would walk out of here holding hands. But Weeping Willow stood his ground and said he felt like they were too different. I don't know what Kevin saw that the rest of us didn't, but Alexis is done with that man. Weeping Willow might be able to be swayed, but it's a wrap for Alexis. As far as updates, Alexis said she's moved to a new place and has been painting and sculpting a lot. There have been some people who are checking back in after they found out she got married, like, dang girl, I almost lost you. It wasn't any of her exes. It was just like casual relationships she had. So in the end, Weeping Willow apologized for attacking Alexis's character, and they made up for the time being anyway. Watching these two interact was exhausting. There's definitely some fibbing going on here. Was Weeping Willow completely fabricating his stories about Alexis? Or is Alexis not owning up to her truth? So, hey, if there's anyone who lives in the San Diego area who has proof of Alexis showing up to Weeping Willow's house on their Ring doorbell or security footage, please let us know. They said they have a group chat and they keep in touch regularly, and they've hung out a bunch of times since decision day. They said their group chat is named Sister Wives. Wrong show, boo-boo. Y'all had different husbands. So Kevin asked Alexis, how hard was it when you heard what was going on and had to decide if you stay quiet or go tell your girl? So Alexis said, Caddy actually came to me. It wasn't like I just ran and told Caddy. We were having like a powwow session, and she was just like, please tell me if you know something, because she knows that they're close. And I eventually made the decision to say, yes, what you're suspecting is true. Now, based on how Caddy wanted Ben to operate, why was it okay for her to go to Alexis to discuss her problems, but it wasn't okay for Ben to go to Weeping Willow? I mean, it makes sense to me. I just don't understand why she didn't understand. So Kevin asked Alexis, how hard was it to watch the relationship unravel after that? It was very hard, but I believe it was the right decision because it was the truth, and it was me just supporting my friend. I didn't do anything wrong. I think I could have done it differently looking back. And Caddy said, I'm so grateful you came to me and told me that. Now, wait a minute. Was that just a slip of the tongue? Because Alexis just said that she didn't go to you, that you went to her. Y'all need to get your story straight. So Kevin moved on and asked Lindy, were you a little fed up with Son of a Mitch? And Lindy said, of course. And Stacia said, he was on my crap list from day one. I was not having it with Son of Mitch. Every time I greeted him, I called him a bitch. Girl, you know good and well that if Krysten nicknamed your husband bitch, y'all would have been ready to fight. And Krysten said, there were so many times I wanted someone to call him a bitch. So many times I just needed someone to tell me that I was trying hard and he could try harder. And these ladies did that for me. But I don't understand why you would want to work so hard to make a marriage work with a bitch. But do you, boo? Caddy said he put Krysten through hell and back. And for what? Krysten was the one supporting that marriage and making it work, not Son of a Mitch. Caddy confirmed what we already suspected with that statement. Son of a Mitch was just mitching it up while Krysten was transforming herself into different people to try and make it work. Then they showed a clip of Lindy talking to her friend after the retreat. Before they went into clip, Lindy said, I don't want to watch this. After the clip, Lindy said that she regrets introducing that to our love story because it's a beautiful love story, but this is how I felt, but I was wrong. He was never controlling me. It was me struggling with what if. I don't know. These two feel a little scripted to me. Like she and Miguel sat down and decided how they wanted to reshape some of these narratives they presented during the season to protect their character. I mean, I'm not mad at you, but I see you. So Kevin asked, were there times when you were like, dude, stop crying? She said, yes, there were times. And I told him that sometimes when you are so emotional, it's hard for me to be sensual with you and it affects my attraction level towards you. Then she said he cried almost every day. Every day? Child, say no more. I know Alexis isn't perfect, but I felt for her on that one. Y'all better not put me in an apartment with somebody who is so in their feelings that they are crying every day. Dang. So after watching this girls' chat, it's clear that the wives all seem to really like each other, get along well, and have each other's backs. We weren't gonna get any tea about the wives from the wives. If this show was called Besties at First Sight, they would be super successful because a lot of great friendships were developed throughout the season. And I suspect these ladies will probably become lifelong friends. So Weeping Willow said that he and Ben are in a good place now. And Kevin asked Weeping Willow if he felt bad for not only telling Ben's business, but for putting him on speakerphone. He said, I do, but it wasn't malicious or anything. I was like a big brother to him, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I was trying to save his marriage. Now, I don't know if they edited that weird, but we didn't hear him explain how blabbing Ben's business to Alexis was the right thing to do in order to save Ben's marriage. That didn't make sense to me. With the men, Kevin's conversations weren't that deep. He told Ben he thinks things maybe would have worked out better if he and Caddy had sex. Then they showed the scene from the bachelor party where Nate was interacting with the stripper, and then Kevin asked Son of a Mitch about the face he made, and he said he was surprised on how Nate took the reins like that. Then they showed a montage of Weeping Willow crying, and Miguel and Son of a Mitch kind of praised Weeping Willow for crying because it's a nice emotional release and men can learn something from him about possibly crying more. And Nate said, not that much. I thought it was weird. And Weeping Willow said, this is why your wife said you need to get in touch with your emotions. You got short man syndrome. Nate really seemed to have it in for Weeping Willow. I wonder if he feels some type of way because his father taught him to never cry. And either he resents Weeping Willow's ability to cry or he's disgusted by it. I don't know. So Kevin didn't ask the husbands reasons why they behave certain ways or questions about each other's wives or what they thought about some major behavioral glitches in each other. It was all pretty surface level, and as a result, we didn't learn much during the session. So this season, they decided to change up the expert sessions. Instead of them meeting with each couple, they decided to have them meet with the men and women who said no on decision day separately, then have Alexis and Weeping Willow come out. So first up was Son of a Mitch and Ben. And Dr. Pepper asked them what they learned about themselves this season. Son of a Mitch said he should have watched more of the previous seasons to understand what he was getting himself into. I don't know how you could agree to be on a show like this and not take advantage of the opportunity to study previous seasons. Pastor Cal said, you dropped some bombs, dude. Then they showed multiple clips where Son of a Mitch was mitching, like when he went after Krysten about her dream of buying and selling houses. Pastor Cal was like, I went into dad mode and was like, who is messing with my girl? That's right, you had to ask who because you weren't there. Can someone tag Pastor Cal in next season, please? During this session, we finally got to see some vulnerability from Son of a Mitch. He said, I've always been kind of an outcast, like different, and have never fit in my whole life. So I kind of lash out because I'm always feeling attacked. This experience made me realize how deep I'd fallen into that bubble and lost touch with normal reality. Okay, that was some good insight there, son of a Mitch. You were basically ganging up on people before they would gang up on you. While it doesn't excuse your behavior at all, it does clarify it, and now I have a better understanding of why you were so harsh. So Pastor Cal told Ben that everyone was in agreement that he has no problem admitting when he's wrong and falling on his own sword and apologizing. See, why didn't Kathy grasp that about him? She accused him of not giving her a real apology and only apologizing because people were telling him to. Ben apologized his butt off during this season. So Pastor Cal said, those are good qualities, but you have to be careful not losing your confidence in the midst of all that. You have a lot to offer. You're smart and have a body of a Greek god. Whoa. You better slow your roll, Pastor Cal. Pay him one more compliment and Weeping Willow is going to accuse you of coming on to his boy. So Dr. Pepper asked if he's working on his perfectionism and not expecting a woman to be perfect. And he said he's really working on himself because he doesn't want this to happen again. So both son of a Mitch and Ben seem to have learned a lot about themselves during this process. But unfortunately, this isn't figure out your mess at first sight. They should have had this stuff worked out before they agreed to get married this way. Caddy said that something I've been working on in therapy is my reactivity, and not to react with my emotional side of my brain, but my logical side of my brain. Who talks like that? What? So Pastor Cal asked Caddy, looking back at her situation with Ben, do you think you could have given him more grace? I don't think so, because he kept going back to Weeping Willow, and at this point, how can I really trust him to not keep doing that? So Dr. Pepper said, well, of course, we would have hoped that you would say that we got off track a little bit, but how can we get things back to us working together? That's it? Like nothing about how she scared the bejesus out of Ben or how unhealthy her reactions were? Of course, Ben is no angel either. I'm not saying that. But for some reason, they tap dance around her quickness to anger all season. I don't know. Maybe they're scared of her too. So Pastor Cal said he and Dr. Pepper thought Krysten and son of a Mitch were going to say yes on decision day because they walked off holding hands and were apparently kissing in the car after they left. And she said, we don't make sense, guys. She said that looking at the scenes from our wedding, it was a very different day than I thought. Just things he said about my family and me, it was so hurtful. Girl, I don't know what you heard him say, but he was ready to jump your mama's bones. So throughout this reunion, everyone seemed to be praising Krysten for how hard she worked to make this marriage work. I don't see it that way. If a man isn't into you and is criticizing you and is not willing to do his part to build a relationship, like, what are you doing? Just because you're on a TV show doesn't mean you have to settle. Wait for the guy who at least shows an inkling of interest in you. In the meantime, there's nothing to see here, folks. Let that man go about his merry, miserable way by himself. They dragged Mama and Father Christmas out of Santa's workshop again. For some reason, folks seem to think there is still a chance for these two. I mean, come on, y'all. The man cried almost every day. She wasn't attracted to him. She didn't seem to show him respect. And on top of all that, he had a hot temper too. Like nobody's got time for any of that. So Pastor Cal said he didn't understand what the root cause of the breakup was. Yeah, because you weren't around. They only allowed you to do voiceovers this season, Pastor Cal. So Alexis said, Weeping Willow is great for someone. I just don't think we are compatible. But after 8 weeks, you thought you were compatible enough to say yes on decision day. But then after an additional 13 hours, you realized you weren't compatible at all. Okay, got it. So Alexis was saying that in the end, they weren't able to be their true selves around each other. Like, she's one to crack jokes, but he asked her not to. And then Weeping Willow was like, wait, I asked you not to roast me on national TV because 2.5 million people will be watching. Okay, fair enough. And she didn't make jokes about you. She just told all your intimate business instead. So during the segment, the experts and Kevin were basically giving Alexis and Weeping Willow a hard time about not giving their marriage enough time, because in marriage, there are going to be disagreements and fights. Dr. Pepper said, I believe Alexis wanted him to be more of an alpha male, and she backed away from him when he was not. See, this is where Alexis went wrong again. Going back to her original questionnaire, she should have added or described an alpha male rather than just put she wants someone tall with a nice smile. And Pastor Cal said, y'all basically emotionally vomited all over each other, and then once it got to be too much, you quit. But isn't that why most marriages fail? Because their problems start to be too much? I didn't like how Pastor Cal, Dr. Pepper, and Kevin ignored the problems Alexis and Weeping Willow described, and they only focused on how they reacted to their problems. Like, you argued? All couples argue. Yeah, but you ignored the root of their argument. It was difficult to work around his emotions every day? Okay, you wanted an alpha male. So what? He wasn't. Then you just gave up. Like, these are legit problems, but it felt like they dismissed them and were just trying to guilt Alexis and Weeping Willow into staying together. But unless they change who they are at the core, these problems are going to keep popping up. They talked about Shirtgate, and Kevin said, why couldn't you have just worn the shirt? And he said, I think at the time I thought I was being set up for something, and I just got defensive. But Miguel said, in Son of a Mitch's defense, he also felt that they were being set up for something, but you just took it too far. Then Kevin pointed out the elephant in the room. He said, does anyone see the irony in that you don't want anyone to tell you how to look, but you wanted to tell your wife how to look? And Mitch looked like a deer caught in the headlights. He's like, I didn't tell her that, and I wouldn't buy her all the things that I would want her to wear. I mean, I see your analogy, but it's a little different in my mind. Son of a Mitch, it's the same difference. Maybe you didn't buy her the clothes, but you described them to her. So Kevin brought up Alexis wanting to go to the club, and she quickly corrected him and said, it's not just a club. I just asked for 2 hours to hang out with my friends every week, and he said no. Then Kevin pointed to Lindy and Miguel and asked if they understood where Alexis was coming from, and they both agreed that it's healthy to do things apart. So Weeping Willow said he couldn't tell if she wanted him or not, so it made him feel some type of way when she wanted to go out. Uh-oh, watch out, Alexis. Sounds like Weeping Willow is saying that Nate's game is stronger than yours, because he was sure Nate wanted him, but he didn't know if you did. Well, until you showed up at his doorstep drunk and jumped his bones, allegedly. So Kevin moved on to Caddy and said that the men feel like Ben is taking responsibility for everything that happened in your marriage. What do you take responsibility for? Good question, Kevin. She said she's a very active person and wishes that she could have taken a step back and then come back afterwards and not be overreacting to everything. Okay, so how about you issue him one of them their apologies that you like so much for all of us to see, Miss Reactive? Kevin said to Alexis, you have said that Weeping Willow has had misconceptions about you. What are they? She said, I didn't come on here for clout. I came on here for marriage. This whole sex thing, I've never had shame about sex. Going out all the time thing, that's not true. I even invited you on several occasions and you decided not to go. Then Nate chimed in. If that's the truth, then Weeping Willow, you told me something else because, and then Weeping Willow said, man, she's talking. These two got into another bickering match with Weeping Willow telling Nate, what you say, I take with a grain of salt. And at the same time, Nate is talking over Weeping Willow. I just don't understand because that's not what you told me. I mean, that's not what you told me. I just don't understand. So they stopped bickering for a moment. Then Kevin was able to move on to tell Weeping Willow that if he has anything to apologize for, now would be the time. So Weeping Willow started talking about how he said things to hurt Alexis's feelings, and it's something that he's working on. Old Nate jumped in. You got to work on those lies, brother. You got to work on those lies. Weeping Willow said, you talk too much. God, you're like a kid. And Stacia said, can both of you stop? Girl, don't check Weeping Willow. That was your man who chimed in when nobody was talking to him. So Kevin said, let's end this on a happy note. And then they showed some scenes of the cast being playful that we didn't get to see throughout the season. So overall, I think there was some good insight into some of these couples' relationships. Like we got to see a different side of Weeping Willow that wasn't shown during the season. We got to hear the scripted Lindy and Miguel show. We learned about how Stacia and Nate were living in both of their places while Stacia still can't seem to let go of the steering wheel. And we learned just how hard Krysten fought to build a marriage all by herself. So we have one more episode of this season. Where Are They Now? Which is actually one of my least favorite episodes because they feel a little forced to me, like they're lightly scripted, and they generally tape them too soon after the reunion. So in many cases, not much has changed since the reunion. But hopefully this season's episode will bring us some more tea. And I'll see you in my next video.